very warm good afternoon to everyone. Seems like it's going to be a wonderful weekend. I extend my special thanks and welcome to all gathered here to be a part of our event, Introduction to Pentesting, organized by ISACA NSBM Student Chapter. I'm sure everybody is wondering what is penetration testing is about. And I hope everyone is eagerly waiting to learn a lot about this. So, without further ado, I will turn the time over to our guest speaker, Mr. Ishara Abetissa, who works as a cybersecurity analyst at Fonty. We are so thankful to you, sir, for accepting our invitation and participating in today's event. I assure that it'll be a cool session and everybody will stay tuned until the end. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, I hope you all are safe during this pandemic situation. So, let me introduce myself first. I'm Ishara Abetissa. I'm currently working as a security analyst and researcher at Quantum. So, today we're going to discuss about the ethical hacking and the penetration testing. So, during the webinar, we will talk about the approach that you need to take to be a good pen tester and talk about the web application, penetration testing, and the privilege escalation. So this session will be separated into two parts. The first one is about the presentation part, and the second one will be the demonstration. So let me share my screen. So let's discuss about what is the penetration testing. What's the pen testing? So usually pen testing is conducting a cyber attack to identify the vulnerabilities of the given scenario in the organization. So by authorization the target. So definitely penetration testing is categorized, well, we can categorize as white hat stuff. And let's talk about what kind of skill you need to improve to be a good pen tester. So of course you need to have a intermediate knowledge about the programming language. Basically this programming language is not for create a new product or a new solution. You need this language, you need this knowledge to automate your exploit flow. Let's talk about like an example. If you're talking about brute force attack, continuously typing a password list is also recognized as a brute force attack. So what are the brute force attack tools are doing? They are automating the exploit. So if you need to write a script, so you need to have a clear understanding about vulnerability also. And of course, let's say you are having a mobile application pen testing. So in some stage, you need to decompile the mobile application and read the source code for identify the vulnerable function. So of course, you need to have the programming language knowledge to read the source code of inside of a given target. Not in depth. It's good to having an intermediate knowledge. And yes, you need to have a good knowledge about the network. So let's assume you are having an internal pen testing scam, and for that you need to have a clear picture about the organization, network architecture or domain. So basically, it would be fantastic to having knowledge about the OSI layer and about the protocols and the services and etc. etc. So and of course it's very good to have a web application about the web application attack knowledge. It means when you have a web application pen testing project, so you should understand kind of web application attacks techniques like SQL injection and cross-site scripting, command injection, and etc. etc. So I will be I attach the resources and materials and at the end of the slides, so you can see. And of course, you should be a good researcher about exploiting the vulnerabilities. The research is actually the most important part to be a good pen tester, because you as a pen tester, you should deliver your entire project to your client. So in this delivering stage, you need to define the vulnerability and the risk and what kind of impact that will be from the vulnerability, and of course the remediation plan. So you need to provide this stage to your client. So for this, you need to have clear understanding about the vulnerability. So let's talk about this part. Of course, you should be passionate for your subject, and this is a very important part, the reporting part. As we discussed before, in the reporting, report should be well structured and proper in a proper manner, because these reports you are delivering to your client. The reason is client have no understand about security stuffs. So you need to have define in a proper way your vulnerabilities and the risk and the remediation plan in the report. So yes, of course you need to be a good patient. You need to have a good patient, because you can't be a good ethical hacker or pen tester in one night. Patient is very important part. So let's talk about next slide. Of course, I wanted to mention this part is mainly because I saw a lot of people is focusing on the hacking tools, not for the vulnerability. Let's say you are a good learner and passionate guy for InfoSec. So you want to learn about SQL injection, and you Google that part. You are Googling your question. So you can see the bunch of available walkthroughs and tutorials in YouTube and anywhere in internet. So in most in videos, I can see they are only teaching that how to learn how to run the tool, not about vulnerability. So at the end of the day, so this what to expect, and what your result will be have a different gap. So, and of course, like we discussed before, you need to have a clear understanding about the vulnerability to deliver your entire project to the customer. This is the most important part to be a good pen tester. So let's talk about why research is more important. There are a number of benefits that if you research about the vulnerability. The first one is, personally, I have this you will have a good confidence when you are facing an interview. Let's say you are having a technical interview. So knowing about the vulnerabilities, you will face this interview in a good way, in a better way. So next point is the reporting part. So it's part we discussed before. And the third point is, if you research about, like, I'm not saying research more advanced and complex systems. You can start the research very known, very famous vulnerability. It can be old. So we will do. Let's talk about an example. So today I will talk about this vulnerability. This vulnerability is related to the FTP 2.3.4 version. So usually if you wanna initially you can, if you want to research about any kind of vulnerability, so you can research, the Google will be your friend. So you can mention the name, service, and if you can type the keyword exploit, so it will be better. So this exploit DB is a good site that is holding the recent vulnerabilities POCs, mean proof of concept. So basically what happened in this exploit is very known, but actually this is all vulnerability. But when the attacker when attacker exploit the vulnerability, so he will give the root shell or whatever the shell inside of the target server. So this is basically remote type attack. And sorry. So I mean, like I mentioned before, you need to have a little understand about programming language to read some source code. Then you can do your research in a better way. So in this part, you can see we don't have to focus on this this area. So in this section, you can see the attacker is trying to connect to the FTP port and the host name. So in this line, you can see the attacker is sending the username to the FTP authentication protocol, and then after this attacker is sending the password. And you can see the username is defined Nurgle, and this is, of course, this is an unauthenticated attack. So this exploit doesn't need the valid credential to exploit. So you can see here, it's mentioned the username and password. So if you look closely, you can see the smiley face in the here. So actually this is an inject. This is an injection code of this exploit. So after that, you can understand this flow, right? So far you can understand. So in this here, a little bit of weird, because attackers, after sending this password, so attacker trying to connect the port 6200. So a little bit of weird, because we all know the FTP default port is port 21. So I have read some article and I found the source code of this FTP. So sorry. So let's go to the slide again. So you can see this is actually not the entire code. This is a part of a code. Okay, this is based on this FTP 2.3 version, the version 2.3.4. So you can see in here, this is the variable function. So you can see the LSV function in here, and with two condition with the AND gate. So base, it means, so these two conditions should be true. Condition should be true to execute this, to activate this function. So basically in this buffer, I have done small research on this. So this buffer defines the use inputs. Sorry, this array defines the use input. The second array also defines the same input, is the next element. So you can see in here this this first condition, comparing hex value with an array inputs. So if you look closely, this hex 3a is, if you convert this hex 3a into the ASCII value, ASCII mean the plain text, so you can see the column. And if you convert this 29 hex value into the ASCII, you will see the closing better. So I will show you. So hope you can see this side. So this side is I use for, convert hex to ASCII. So this 3 and 29, basically if we convert this, if we convert this hex value it will create an emoji, a smiley face. So now you should have clear understand why this attacker inject this smiley face. So once user input a smiley face, this function will be called and activate. So still we don't get why what is the combination of port 62 and double node and this function. So let's analyze this function a little bit. So basically you can see this function is opening a port 62 double node, and after that it will give you a shell the bin -sh, which means the Linux shell. So like that you can do a you can start a small research and not do the complex vulnerability research, just start from the easy, very old. So then you can understand the flow, and like you can start your own research. You can think, your thinking attitude will be the change. So of course, if you're talking about resources, so there you can see the bunch of available resources in publicly available, but I personally recommend this Pentester lab will be a great place to learn, because it's teaching about the exploit and its flow. You will learn how to make exploit without using any tools. So it's great place to learn. And of course, the Burp Suite Academy. So this is completely free, and this will teach you about. This is great place to learn about the web application attacks. So they are also providing the lab for you to practice. So of course, this is Hack the Box. So from here you can learn about, this is a CDF-based platform, so you can learn about how to exploit the servers and the application. There are many challenges, everything are there. So in Try Hack Me, this is a new platform, also CDF-based, but they are launching some training about the learning paths and everything. So if you are willing to learn technical aspects, so you can follow this site. And of course the DVWA, I personally recommend this because from here you can learn about the web application attack, of course, but you can do research about this vulnerable source code. Let's say if you are doing a SQL injection attack, so you can do it by your own hand in this lab, and as well you can view the vulnerable source code, vulnerable PHP source code for this SQL exploit. So this is good for research. The Metasploitable 2, of course, this box is for beginners, and you will learn how to exploit servers and protocols, and as well as the web application. So if you are download Metasploitable 2, so DVWA will also there. So let's jump to the demonstration part. Hold on, I'm switching my labs. Give me a sec. So I hope everyone can see my screen. Just ask question anytime if you have any, some unclear points during the webinar. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, thanks. So today we are going to discuss about, demonstrate about a hack the box machine. We call the notebook. So this platform is a very good platform because you can see number of challenges. I'll show you. I'm sorry guys, I would prefer the all. Sorry. So actually, I would prefer the old GUI because new one is a little bit messy. I personally don't like this new thing. So in here, you can see number of challenges about reverse engineering crypto Istago. Personally, I recommend this because this all of challenges and machines are is kind of real world, is come up in the real world scenarios. So it will be very beneficial to your career as well. So not everything, just most of the thing, comparing with other platforms actually. So in here you can see the machines. You can see here the exploitable machine, and it categorized as a rating. So you can categorize as very easy, medium, hard, insane. So start if you are a beginner to this platform. So I recommend we start with very easy and then slowly. Personally, I don't focus on the ranking and the score of your profile. Just all the time learn what's the logic behind the vulnerability in of these boxes. So let's start the machine. So first of all, we need to configure the VPN that it is
hello, excuse me. Hello. Yeah, can you give us a small brief introduction about your methodology, how you're gonna attack the box, like what are the stuff you're doing before just start attacking, like small introduction about your methodology? Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. So even in a real world scenario, in the real world pen testing project, the clients give you a scope. If let's say you are doing a network pen testing project, so they are giving you the IP addresses. So even in here, so we need to take the IP address of the machine what we want to exploit. So basically, during pen testing, we need to follow the cyber kill chain. Kill chain is first part is the information gathering part. So first of all, we have to have gather the information around our scope. Let's say it's depend. The information can be depend because let's say you are doing a mobile pen testing, so your information will be different comparing with the network pen testing. So if we are doing a network pen testing, so first of all, list, gather list kind of the what basically you have to pen test the server. So you should gather the attributes that are related to the server, let's say the ports. And if you gather details around the port. So you can see port number. So what is the protocol? It can be UDP or TCP, and port services. So these things you have to gather during the information gathering part. So information gathering part also can be divided into separate pages, the active gathering and passive gathering. So in active gathering, you are directly gathering the information from the server. You are directly communicate with the server. By passive, you have to do the passive gather. You have to be a passive gather. You have to gather the information using the Google or whatever. It should be a different route. So first of all, I'm using the Nmap tool to gather the information around the server. So as here is just mean a scene packer. Enumerating the scene port information here. So it's by putting a we mean we are gathering this ports versions information by providing this argument. So we are giving the SC. Usually in Nmap there are by default script available written by Lua language. So by putting this argument, you can join that script to your enumeration part. So it will be really beneficial to give you more information about the server. So I put instead of using this, this is the IP address of the server, which we are exploring right now. But I put this in host file because it easily use a name instead of using IP addresses. So in here, we just have to wait small time to complete. So now you can see we gather. So we have to mention the server IP address here. So instead of IP address, I just put a name because I add this domain name into the our host file. So you can see the Nmap result. Usually you can see the port 22 is stays open. So by default port 22 is come up with the SSH, and of course the version number. So and this server is hosting a website. We can see that from here, this server is opening port 80, and of course you can see the server information in here. What kind of server is using and what is the version number of the server. So, and of course, this port 110 number is partially open. So let's put it away for now. So usually in a hack the box, in these kind of scenarios, you don't have waste much time on port 22. Because there are only favor recent vulnerabilities related to port 22. So let's jump to the port 80. So we need this is a website that is hosting, which is hosting by the server. So basically here we can see if you are in a website, if you are doing web penetration testing, first like I said before, you have to gather the information around the website. So basically there can be a sensitive directory. So So for enumerating the directories, I'm using the tool called GoBuster. And in here we have to mention what kind of scan do we need to launch. So I'm putting, so we are now doing the directory scan. So I'm putting in here dir. And with -u, you need to mention the URL, of course, the target URL. And later you have to mention the password list. So usually in Linux, the all password list and word list are located in under user share directory. So if you don't waste time to enumerating, wasting time to find the word list in around anywhere. So you can use you can find this kind of words in there. In this password list to enumerate the sensitive directories. Cool. Now you can see there are three directories so far located in the website. So while the scan is going, so of course keep note this. If you are doing web pen testing also, this robot.txt file is can give you if it is there, if robot.txt file is in the website, so it can disclose you the sensitive information about the website. So do you guys have any questions? So you can ask while going this scan. So anyway, while going that, you can analyze, you can gather the information related to the client side. So you can watch the source code of this, not PHP, but you can watch the HTML code and the CSS code in here. So in there you can, sometimes you can find interesting information in the source code, or else you can use the inspect element. So in storage part, you can, see the cookies in the website. Okay, so.
Excuse me, Shara. So
Okay.
I have a small question. So what are the, can you please explain what are the common or the general tools that we can use to scan a website or to deal with the problem in Kali or hack the box thing?
Okay, sure. So there are a bunch of tools available to scan a website. In Kali, you can see the Nito. So this will, sorry. So you can see the Nito tool. This will give you a good result about the website, but this tool is not accurate 100%. So usually we are in the industry, we are using a commercial tool called sorry. So there are a number of cracks. You can find it in public if you wanna. So this tool is very good tool. This just you need to give the the target URL and you will get better result. So if this is a good tool we are using in industry. So and in Kali you can use the Burp Suite, of course. So I'll show you. It's a Burp Suite is kind of a proxy server. You can intercept and you can modify the HTTP request. Depends on your test. You can test the API using the Burp Suite websites, and of course some other mobile application. You can intercept the mobile application request using Burp. This is Java, written by Java language. So in here, we will use, so we will use this tool later with demonstration. So I'm running this directory scan. So and you can see the response coding here in the using the Go Buster. This admin directory got 403, which means the prohibiting. This site is prohibiting to the other users. So 200 is it's a successful response code. So while this scan is going, so basically we don't. We didn't find any interesting clue in the website of in the directory scan. So just we saw only login, register, and log out. So these 4 parts we saw so far. So they're having an option called register. So it means we can register a user. So let's see. I'm putting a password text in here and email, of course. Sign up. Yes, we are a normal privileged user. So this is not access. So we can add a note. So just a note. Yeah, no robot.txt, and let's analyze about source code. Let's find some interesting things around there. Just CSS and of course we'll type on. Okay, so in this kind of scenarios, in mostly on CDFs, you don't have any clue, if you don't find any kind of interesting things, so you should think about the privilege escalation, which means you need to be an administrator to this website. Then most probably you will see a vulnerable feature to get into the system. So for now we are a normal user, okay, unprivileged user. We are not admin. So so during the privilege escalation in the website, so we should mainly focus on the cookies, because cookies are handling a session in the website. So you can see a cookie called name auth. So I'm taking this value. Of course. So so this is a that's why I did select this box, because this is having a we have to exploit the JWT token, authenticated token, because even in the real world scenario you will find this kind of scenarios to start the scan for JWT token. So basically in JWT token, you can identify it very easily because all the time it starts, there has a 3 parts, of course. The first is header, payload, and the third part is signature. So all the time this first 2 part, it starts from EY. I will explain you about that in later. So of course this entire cookie is encoded by base 64, so you can easily decode. So let's decode about header part. So I'm decoding this header. Like I said, this is base 64, so we can encode this cookie. All right, so this in the header part, you can see there are 3 parameters. The first one is define what kind of token it is. So it's definitely JWT, so we can see. So in the second parameter, it define what kind of encryption mechanism is used to the signature, used to create the signature. This is the entire signature. So based on this scenario, so this has been used RSA 256 encryption mechanism. So usually in JWT, the developers have been used the signature because the signature is protecting the integrity of the token, because nobody can tamper the session. If someone can tamper session, then the server side will be in the server side there has a validation part. So if someone tamper or modify, so the server will be reject this cookie. All right. So in the third parameter is a key identifier parameter, so called as key. So this define the private key. It's RSA is a combination of private key and public key. So we can assume the private key of the signature define this key value, because we can assume like that. So once this cookie is sent to the server, first server will check this location of this private key, and it will compare with the signature, and if this private key is belong to that signature, so then will be authenticate cookie will be passed, will be granted. So by actually let's keep it for now, and let's decode the second part. I'm going to clear. Okay. So in this here you can see this is a payload section, and this is the most important part. You need to have focus, because display payload included the user information. So in here you can see the username, the Twitter domain, and the email, and you can see this parameter is holding that we can assume the admin capabilities is 0. So what if we, the 0 means by default is false. So to the user Venom, the admin capabilities is 0. We can assume that so the Venom is not an admin, this simple user, of course. So what if we change this value into the 1 and make it true? Yeah, of course we can, but our next challenge is to create a signature, because if we have this private key, so we can generate our own signature, but unfortunately we can't, because it's holding the localhost IP address, because the server is checking this signature by localhost private key. And but the problem is this entire path is there's a couple of vulnerabilities. And the first one is the entire path is available to the public. So basically, if attacker can create their own private key and host it by the HTTP server. So, and create the signature using that. So, we can bypass this validation from the server side. So let's look at how to do that. So usually, if you are so I created okay, sorry. First of all, let's create our own private keys. So by using OpenSSL, so you can create a public key, and you can create a public key by using OpenSSL. So by this SSH keygen, you can create your own private key, RSA private key here. So let's run these commands. So in here, you can mention the type of the key. In here, I mentioned the RSA, the size, and of course, it should be PEM, and the name. So I'm putting here, I'm giving the private key name. So if it's better, we can put password in here because it will be more encrypted. Let's say someone steals your private key, so he should know about your purpose to use your private key. So it's good practice to enter the private purpose to the private key. So this scenario I keep blank. Okay, so I created a private key, So in using the OpenSSL tool, so you can create a new public key. So here we are also mention the encryption type method RSA. We should give our private key because all know if you are basically RSA, we use private key to generate the public key. So we have to input a private key here. So host PEM and so done. So you can see new private key and public key. So I have already created private key and public key. So I'm going to use those two keys. So like we discussed before in the presentation, having a script will make easy for you to conduct the pen testing stuff. Like we can do manual, encoding, decoding process in JWT. But if we do some mistakes or entire cookie will be invalid, so we can miss the vulnerability. So in here, I import the JWT library. If you are doing a JWT pen test, the web pen test, if you are facing if you have to do the JWT stuff, so this Python library will be very easy for you to modify the code. So in here, I just put my private key, which is generated by the OpenSSL, and in here I put my payload. This point you should remember. This is a payload section that we use to modify. So I'm putting my same name, same email, and I change the admin capability parameter 0 to 1. So which means we can take the admin privileges in here. So this part is used for generate the signature part. And this is printed top. So if you have any questions, so please ask. So we took the entire cookie and now we are generating our new time modified cookie here. Okay, so like I said before, this cookie you can easily identify these two parts. I start from EY. This EY basically, if you this is open bracket. So if you decode this value, so you can see this start from open bracket. So you can easily identify this data cookies in real world scenarios. So let's put this modified cookies in here and let's reload. So I got an small error. Wait, let me check. So actually I forgot something to mention. So you can see in here, this private key is located under the HTTP server, but we can't access to take the private key because it's on the localhost on their server end. So we can't access this kind of IP address as a remote. So we need to use our own, we need to create our own HTTP server to host our own private keys. Okay, for that I'm gonna host our private keys using by creating a HTTP server, small server. So it's located private key. So simply you can create a host by Python, using Python. So this is the command. So I don't waste much time on the directory scanning because it seems like it doesn't give you a good result. So I give up on that. So anyway, we have to mention the server IP, our server IP address and port, and we need to mention our generated private key. So now let's we are creating a new authenticated cookie to take administrative privileges. So I am paste this cookie in here and I'm simply refresh, and yes, you get an admin panel feature. You can see this website has been requested our private key. So it means we could bypass this kind of validation successfully. So I'm going to the admin panel, of course. So we can upload a file to the server. So this is basically the file upload vulnerability. Now, like I said before, in Kali Linux, you can take the PHP shell in okay, actually I forgot this part. So in here you can find any kind of web shells, reverse shells in this directory. I'm copying a shell to here. So reverse shell, basically reverse shell mean a command line control that the attacker gives you a reverse way. It's like let's say you upload this shell into your server and you execute this PHP file on server side, and server will give you the interactive or whatever shell to you back. That's what it means, the reverse shell. So we have to upload a PHP reverse shell. So I'm renaming it as I will. This both files are same, so I'm modifying this file. First of all, you need to give your IP address to the PHP reverse shell in here. You don't have to modify a lot of things, just put the IP address, and I left the port 1234. And after, you need to create a netcat listener. And what's mean? Netcat is a good tool. It's called as a some tool. You can pentest the networking protocols, and you can capture the transmission packets. You can transfer the files between servers using this tool, and of course you can initiate the listener this port. It means this our local machine, our Kali machine is listening to port 1, 2, 3, 4. So when some traffic come to in this port, this netcat will give you a result. So so let's upload the file. Of course, this one. Okay, so we can view. Simply view mean the execute in here. So we just execute the PHP file in this server. So we can see the traffic, the traffic from the service came for the 1, 2, 3, 4 port, and you can see we got a shell. We are now inside of the machine, but we are in the unprivileged user. The www data is the user belongs to the Apache server on the website, on the web server. So we can't do much things using this user. So basically in hack the box, there are 2 flags in the machine, the user and the root. So you need to grab the user first, and then you have to be a root. So I need a little bit more interactive shell. So it's still a little bit messy, we can't clear the environment. So for that, I'm exporting term. I'm exporting extern, extern shell into the environment, so we can clear. Usually in Linux, you can, by default in Linux, I'll show you, users are available in the home directory. There we go. So in the home directory, so let's go there. And you will see a user called Noah. And of course, you can see the user text in here, but you can't read the user is because it's permission denied, because this user text is only can readable to the Noah user. So we need to become a Noah user. So this box I just enumerate a little bit. So I found interesting found on the backups. So if you are doing this box, so any kind of serious box, you need to be a little bit enumerator when you get the shell. So inside of backup files, so I can see can be a backup file of the home. So this can be categorized as a misconfiguration vulnerability because let's say a system administrator has to do the backups of the home of the users, and he saved this file in the backup without giving proper configuration, giving proper user access control. So you can see usually in Linux, you can see the read-write permissions in this section if you listed down the files in here. So in here, there are 3 types of permissions. The first is the RW mean, R mean the read, W mean write, and the X is missing there. So X define is execution. So only root, So you can hear the own user, the only root can read, write this home file, the backup file. So on third-party users, it's defined in this here. On third-party users only can read this home file. So now let's unzip this. Okay. It is a permission denied because this entire directory is owned by root. Only just we can't, as a third-party user, only just we can't read and execute. We can't write inside of this directory. So I am now copy this home backup file into the temp folder. Basically, in Linux, you can see the temp folder, which is stored the temporary files. So no one doesn't care about this. So just copy it. So I'm here and fine. Okay. And so inside of that, you can see the directory of the Noah user. Okay, it's empty, of course. So I'm viewing the hidden files inside of this directory. So if you want to read the hidden files, so you can use normally just type ls and this command define the all. So if you can list all files inside of the directory, it can be hidden or not. So interesting files, you can see .ssh, which actually this .ssh directory is holding the private key and public key of the SSH protocol. So if someone take your, let's say you are Noah, so if someone can capture this private key, so you can authenticate as you. So attacker can authenticate as you without the password through the SSH protocol. So now we have captured this file, and I'm so let's come to the local machine. So I already have this file. So we have copy paste. So let's first of all, you need to give us the chmod is doing is giving the permission to the file. So first of all, you have to give this kind of permission access to IDRSA, which means only the owner can read and write about this IDRSA. Otherwise, you can't use this private key to authenticate, because it's ready for come up with the latest distribution. Okay, sorry, my bad. So this argument is used to import this private key, and you can type the username Noah and the host name. Oh my bad, should be Noah. Okay, we got access to the NOAA user with the private key. So basically, this flow is known as private key authentication. So this is by default authentication, but we need to keep safe our private key. So now we can select and let's move to now the next step is in usually hack the box, we need to become a root user. So we are now in NOAA. So we have to do the privilege escalation part. So the privilege escalation part you can take as an amazing tool called right, the link piece. So again, this tool is actually by default come up with the Kalina, so you can take it from this location. And of course, this tool need to execute inside the target machine. So we have to upload this script into the machine. So of course, we already initialized the HTTP server. I'm not closing this. All right. So we can use the wget tool. It's come up with the Linux distribution. So it's a command line tool. We can use this tool to download any kind of files in internet or any kind of files using inside of the HTTP server. So for that we need to give the IP address and the port. And of course the files. So it's start downloaded. All right. Then after we have to give the execution permission to these files, otherwise it won't be the execute. Well, let's start the. It will take more time to finish. So, do you guys have any questions? Can ask. All right. So let's. So if in this script, if you see the red highlighted part, so this thing you should have more in focus because this also the script is saying that you should take a look to it. This red highlighted part. So the sudo version is, and this define the current folder location. And of course, it's saying this is a virtual machine. So yes, the VMware. And of course, there are, container tools, the Docker and Runc. So these are and you can see in the host name, what's the notebook box name is that. And of course, this is an interesting part because this no user having sudo provisioning, which means this user can run this Docker command as a root. So this kind of more interesting because if this Exonoma can run this command used as a root, so we can probably take root user in this command. So we can probably take a root flag using this command. So let's analyze a little bit about that. Okay. So it means this web app is a Docker container and you can run this command. So let's usually in Docker command, if we are put sh, so we can take our Linux shell for the Docker container. Of course, we are now in a Docker container. We are now root, but this is not this root belongs to this Docker container. So we can't take root shell. Root text using this part. We need to have to be a root in the notebook machine. So you can see this kind of list there, and of course you can have an idea. This is the local. If you remember about this. So if you remember about this path, this will be localhost 070 private key. So probably this can be this this value, this key value is defined this Docker container. So you can find this private key here. So we can, of course, if you want to exploit some, protocol or service, the best thing is to analyze the version, the research about the version first. Okay, we got this Docker version is 18.6. The version of Docker file. So now I'm gonna find some other kind of POCs. I'm gonna search about some exploits that are related to this Docker version. So I'm going to use the search exploit tool. This is a whole database which is holding proof of concept for the vulnerabilities. So you can see kind of POCs, proof of concept available there. So all right, so I'm gonna use this because it's holding a Runc and the Docker. So I'm gonna use this exploit to escalate the privilege in the server. So actually I already have here, so I took. So otherwise you can found this you can find this materials, exploit materials in the exploit DB. So you can see. So those are the exploit, malicious files that we are going to use to escalate the privilege in the server. So in payload, they actually the entire material is written by the C language. So you can see here the payload. This is a reverse shell that we are going to use during the exploit. So basically, we have to, like the previous, like we did in the PHP reverse shell, we have to mention the port, the IP name. I'm gonna change this IP because now I have a different IP address. And port, of course. So after that, it will give you this shell. If we go to this we don't need to do the in-depth research on this. So basically, this payload will pass our reverse shell will pass to the Docker container and overwrite it. Cool. So now I'm gonna compress that I'm skipping that because it is easy to upload. So I'm going to initialize HTTP server here because we are in a different directory. So let's say this our IP address. Oh, I forget. We have to have these files on the Docker inside of the Docker container. So all right. So let's unzip. So I'm getting to that directory. So you can see there. So this script, I will talk about this script. So this is a bash script. Using that script, we can, this script used to automate entire exploit. So like we discussed before, so it will gonna echo this thing to the bin bash, and it will give the permission to the bin sh and these things, and it will override this. While exploiting this vulnerability, we need to execute the Docker sudo Docker container command inside of the notebook machine. Once it execute, this loop will trigger the PID of that process, and it will write, and it will be a shell. So don't this is actually a little bit of advanced vulnerability, so don't. So for that, actually, we need to have two shell, and then sorry, this type of. All right, so for complete the exploit, we need to execute this command. Ready? We need to give execute permission to this script, and of course we need to start a netcat listener to port number 4415. All right, so it's okay. So all right, sorry. First we have to make those two files. We have to compile those C source code into the binary files. So this make file, it's do that. Then after we have to execute this bash script. Okay, then let's execute this file, and of course we gotta root shell. So you can see the box name is the notebook, and you can see the root flag here. That's all for the privilege escalation part. So actually, what I want to say is spend more time on researching about the vulnerabilities, and then you can come up with hacking tools, right? So that's all I want to talk about in today's sessions. Now, if you have any questions, just please ask. Do you have any questions? Hello guys, do you have any questions?
Hello, guys. If you have any questions, you can drop them to the chat box or you can unmute yourselves and ask. Hello. Guys, if you have any questions, you can drop them to the chat box or you can unmute yourselves and ask.
Yeah, of course, I will. Wait. Actually, like we discussed before, if you can follow the materials that I mentioned before in the presentation. Wait. Let me share my slides again. So actually, personally, I recommend these platforms. So if you are asking courses, so this would be fantastic if you can follow. So actually, they are teaching about the exploit and its flow without using, any kind of tools. So you can have a better understanding about the vulnerability. And of course, these things, Burp Suite Academy, they are also giving you the certificates. And completely free, and also they are providing a labs. And these are CDF-based platforms, Hackbox, as we discussed before. So as a beginner, so I would prefer these two. Please follow these two. So Burp Suite Academy is there. It's the best place to learn about the web site attacks in details. So I think the Burp Suite having more than 100 of labs related to the web application attacks. So you will have a good understand about the web application if you follow this academy. Pentesting lab actually is you need to purchase, but they are doing discount to student domains. If you have the NSBM domain, so you will have discount. Anyone have questions?
Yeah, so all the resources are mostly based on web related stuff, right? Do you recommend any other resources for like other attacks like binary exploitations or center reverse engineering type of any recommendations?
Exactly. So if you want to learn about server side exploit and protocol side attacks, so Hackbox will be the good platform. And Pentesting Lab also. Pentesting Lab is not only doing the related, they also are teaching about some sort of server side attacks, and of course the mobile pen testing training also included in Pentesting Lab, so it will be really beneficial. So if you are moving to TryHackMe, so TryHackMe also has kind of server side exploit and materials related to the malware and OSNIT trainings and all of those things. So this is specifically designed for the web application attack. So any questions?
Thank you very much, sir. Seems like there's no more questions. So before we wrap up the things of the day's event, let me invite our treasurer, Timan Kumarage, to deliver the vote of thanks. It's to you, Timan Aye.
Okay. Sure.
Hello, Timan Aye. Are you there?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry. A very good evening to all of you. Today, we have seen yet another successful conclusion of a truly informative session in the field of computer security. The Introduction to Pen Testing Session 1, and it is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this immense occasion. On behalf of ISACA NSBM and the entire fraternity of management here, let me first start by expressing our profound sense of gratitude and appreciation to Mr. Ishara Abeitissa, a security analyst and a pen tester, for gracing this occasion with his presence and sharing his valuable knowledge of some interesting topics. We have been truly fortunate to have you with us today, and I'm sure our audience truly benefited from all your hard efforts. Once again, sir, thank you very much for sharing this valuable knowledge with us. It has been our pleasure to host the participants of the session. You were enthusiastic of the event, and I'm very thankful for all of you for coming here to attend the session. Last, but definitely not least, I thank every one of you who have greatly helped us in organizing this conference. An event of this dimension cannot happen overnight, and it needs meticulous planning and execution, as well as an eye for detail. I cannot thank enough for each and every one of you for your involvement and your willingness to take on and see through to the completion of your work beyond your comfort zone. I wish you all the very best. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Aye. And thank you, everyone, for staying live with the session till the end. And also, I take this opportunity to thank all the seniors in the top board, subcommittee, and all the volunteers who helped in the back end to make this event a success. Hope to see you all soon with another cool session. Stay safe, everyone. Good night.